Great to see you. Great to see you. Seth, I would love for you to introduce yourself. You're a veteran Interview Connections client. You've worked with us before and now you're back for more interviews. So share your story and how's everything going with podcast guesting?
Yes, my name is Seth Donlin, and I am actually a podcast guesting coach. So I work with people like yourselves who are getting onto podcasts to help them be the better, most effective, most amazing guests that they can be. And I mean, obviously, I want to say that because I want you to understand who I am, but I also want to emphasize that because a lot of my prospects come to me and they're like, "Well, will you book us on to some shows?" And honestly, I will book people on a few shows just to get them started and give me some shows that I can analyze with them and stuff like that. But I will not book people on shows after that. That's not what I do. I coach people. And one of the reasons is because why bother, right? When you know who the best in the business is, it doesn't make sense to try to compete with them. I would rather take my clients or prospective clients. Sometimes people, I get on discovery calls with people and they're like, no, ultimately, I just want people to book me. And I'm like, great, then go see Interview Connections, right? Like, I would rather send somebody to the best than try to compete with them and offer a lower grade of service. And so, could I be booking myself? Yes. And I do additionally, but I spend my money with Interview Connections because they are truly the best in the business. And that's not just me saying that. I guest on a lot of shows and I get into extended conversations with a lot of hosts, many of whom tell me that Interview Connections is one of the few booking agencies that they'll actually work with because so many booking agencies or individuals end up sending them connection requests that are just not appropriate for their show at all. You know, they're just throwing spaghetti up against the wall and hoping something sticks. They're just throwing pitches out there, hoping that, you know, if they put out 50 pitches, you know, one or two will connect, and that's how they're serving their clients. And that's not at all what Interview Connections is doing, right? They're being very targeted. They're going after shows that they know you're going to be a good fit on, and you know, you can rest assured that you're not going to get into a conversation with the host and then the host is like, what, you're not right for my show, or you're like, you're not the right audience for me. That's not going to happen with Interview Connections. um,
Yeah. Seth,
but
I'm
the
glad that you brought that up. I just want to share because, Margie and I, we host a podcast as well. And, we own a booking agency. Our shows are mostly co-hosted. She and I are teaching and people pitch us and they're like, do you need guests for your show? And I'm like, shockingly, that's not a need we have because we've got plenty of them that are paying us. But the thing is, especially like if you're looking at different booking agencies and you're like, well, there's so much less for a lot of these other companies that are charging, very little. There's this approach where it is, as you said, spaghetti at the wall. They'll do this kind of cold outreach strategy where they're like, we'll pitch you to 100 shows and we'll certainly get you the bookings we promise. But the problem with that is when you get pitched to podcasts that are not a good fit, because there will be shows they pitch you to that are not a good fit if they're playing the numbers game, is that you look bad to all of those hosts that open that pitch. If a podcast pitches, if a booking person pitches a guest to me that's not a good fit for the Interview Connections podcast, I'm like, that person did not do a good job vetting whoever is pitching them. And I it's just, you really need to be careful about who you are having represent you online.
yeah, it reflects on your professionalism as a guest if you are out there chasing down um, shows that aren't a proper fit for you. I mean, you know, even if it's like on the, you know, maybe they pitch you to somebody that it's like kind of on the fence. It might be a fit, it might not be a fit. But then even if the host decides to have you on, which if I was the host, I wouldn't, but even if the host decides to have you on, in the back of their mind, they're going to be like, is this episode going to be a strong episode? Like, how committed are they going to be to making sure that you are the absolute best that you can be on their show when they're like uncertain about you in the first place, and you just don't want to go there. Um, but the big thing that I wanted to talk about today was a win that I had, which is a win that came through Interview Connections. They booked the show. I was on a show recently where obviously I was talking about being how can experts and entrepreneurs and business executives be the best guests that they can be when they're going to their shows. And so I was on a show that will run between 45 and an hour, depending on, how are things going. Well, we ran the full hour. And then when we stopped recording, the host and I talked for 45 minutes after the recording session. And the host said to me, she's like, "Oh my God, that was such a great episode. I have to deal with so many people who come on and are not great guests. I think I'm going to take your episode and I'm going to link to it in the confirmation email that all of my potential guests get, and say, before you come on the show, I want your promise that you've watched this episode and learned how to be a good guest." And I'm sure the majority of those people, if they watch it, are they going to come running to me for business? Well, probably not the majority of them, but some will. I mean, that's huge for me to have a host that's taking everybody that comes on our show and saying, "Go check out this guy because he will make you a better guest. And I want only the best guests on my show." And that could happen for any of you. If you're like a financial advisor and you're going on shows for entrepreneurs or whatever, a lot of hosts have their kind of list of their best shows where they're like, "Hey, if you want to learn about social media marketing, listen to episodes 527 and 152. If you want to learn about financial planning, listen to episodes 44, 127 and 302. You could be one of those people that gets in there when you go on a show and you really kill it and you really connect well with the host. And then it's not just people that are listening to that show week of or 2 weeks later, and not the trickle of people that, yes, over time more people will watch those. They'll go through back catalogs of the shows they really love, and they'll months later you'll get more people stumbling across your show. But if the host really loves you, the host has a number of ways to really emphasize your episode and get it out to his or her audience. And that's absolutely an opportunity that's on the table. That can, if that brings you in 10% more business over the course of a podcast tour, over the course of a couple of years, I mean, we're talking about really serious money. So I think the opportunities, the financial upside of doing a podcast tour, doing it with a group like Interview Connections, that's going to put you on the right shows and give you the best opportunity to shine. It's a no-brainer.